What's up, Helldivers? Sly Spy Gaming here, and Arrowhead just released a series of patches, with one of them being a gigantic balancing update to Helldivers 2. In this video, we'll be diving into everything that has been changed, nerfed, buffed, and more in the newest Helldivers 2 patch. But before we dive into everything in the new update, I would love if you guys could leave a like on the video, and let's see if we can get to at least 100 likes on the video. Additionally, if you could leave a comment below on your favorite or least favorite part of this new balanced update and what you think is going to be nerfed or buffed next, I would love to talk about it. Not only does that help me out, but I honestly just love talking Helldivers with the community. With all of that out of the way, let's dive into the newest patch 1.0.2 and see what's all been changed. Okay, so first up, again, like I said, this is a major balancing update. What we're going to see is some balances to weapons, mostly nerfs because, hey, we can't have it easy as Helldivers. And then they've also implemented some other features as well into the game, as well as I'm sure there's other hidden things not discussed in the patch notes that will be leaked later on as well. If you are interested in seeing leaks about things that have not technically been announced by the developers just yet, that is something that I cover on my channel. So if you're interested in seeing upcoming war bonds, upcoming weapons, armors, stratagems, things like that before they're actually released, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you're updated when I drop those leak videos. Now, like I said, with this being a balancing update, let's talk about the major additions and changes in this patch. As just a quick overview, this update will include some balance changes to missions, stratagems, weapons, enemies, and the Helldivers themselves. Additionally, as usual with these kind of updates, there are some general fixes and stability improvements as well to enhance the overall gameplay experience. In terms of the new gameplay additions that were added in update 1.0.2, one of the most exciting, if you can really call it exciting, additions in this patch is the introduction of some new planetary hazards that have hit the stage. Specifically, these are on the snowy and the sandy planets, and that is blizzards and sandstorms. These environmental challenges will test your skills as you navigate through the harsh weather conditions to complete your objectives. For those of you who join me on my streams on Mondays and Wednesdays, we actually did experience a blizzard while fighting some automatons on Vandalon, and let me tell you, it is almost impossible to see anything. However, the automatons seem to have some sort of thermal vision or something like that, and they can see right through, and bam, that is a rocket to the face. Next, and this one is pretty insane, but there has also been a level cap increase. So it seems that some Helldivers were flying through the ranks. So for those of you that know, the past level cap was 50, and it has just been raised by 100 levels. So the new level cap for Helldivers 2 is now level 150, which is absolutely insane. Additionally, as many of you may know, you also get some titles for reaching certain level milestones. So before, again, like I said, the level cap was 50, so Skull Admiral was the final title you would get. However, now at level 60, you can get Fleet Admiral. At level 70, you can get Admiral, which is actually pretty funny. At level 80, you can get Commander. At level 90, Galactic Commander. At level 100, Hell Commander. Level 110, you get General. Level 120, you get 5-star General. At level 130, you get 10-star General. And then this is where it becomes really interesting, really funny. So level 140, you get Private, and then at level 150, you get Super Private. Apparently, this is a little bit of an allusion to the movie Starship Troopers, which, for those of you who know, is kind of what Helldivers is inspired by. Anyways, it is pretty awesome that they've increased this level cap, and it boasts some pretty good fortunes for the future of Helldivers 2. Moving on from the increase in the level cap, and we get into the real nitty-gritty of what was all changed in this newest patch. And like I said, this was a balancing patch, which really just means some nerfs and buffs to certain things. And we'll start off with the balancing that was changed to the missions in the game. So they've changed a couple of the missions, starting with the Retrieve Essential Personnel mission. The developers have made some tweaks that should make it much easier for our Helldivers out in the field. The first that they really mention in the patch notes is that the enemy spawn points will now be moved further away from the objective points. For some reason, the bots and Terminid's tactical acumen was absolutely through the roof, and they would just bombard the area that the civilians would escape through. This would essentially make it impossible to get any civilians through because of how many drops or spawns the enemies would have. Realistically, you just couldn't keep up. Additionally, the new update has reduced the amount of civilians required to complete the mission on higher difficulties for some of our veteran Helldivers out there. Now, after playing with the new patch, this isn't a huge change to the requirement of the civilians, but it is something to keep in mind. Additionally, the Destroy Command Bunkers mission has also been changed, and it now has more objective locations and can appear in operations from difficulty 5. Last on the list for the mission balance changes, and this is a pretty major one for the higher difficulty Helldivers. Again, this is one that should help us out, but they have actually halved the negative effects of operation modifiers that increase stratagem cooldowns or call-in times. We now move on to some of the primary, secondary, and support weapons that were changed. So we'll start off with what was at one point a game-breaking weapon, literally crashing your game, the Arc Thrower. So they've fixed something to where they were charging inconsistencies. They've said that it will now always take 1 second to charge a shot. Additionally, they have reduced the distance of the Arc Thrower from 50 meters to 35 meters, which is a pretty big nerf, and they've increased the stagger force on the Arc Thrower as well. Next on the list, and they mentioned this in the primary and secondary and support weapons, even though this is really a stratagem, is the Guard Dog. The Guard Dog now restores full ammo from supply boxes. Next on the list, they have the Anti-Material Rifle, and they have increased the damage by 30%. They seemingly want to keep increasing the fire damage based weapons, and this patch is no exception. With this, the Breaker Incendiary, damage per bullet has been increased from 15 per bullet to 20 per bullet, essentially making this a stronger gun. Additionally, the fire damage per tick has been increased by 50% from all sources. This includes incendiary grenades, flamethrowers, napalm, anything. So really look out for that Breaker Incendiary, as this has received a pretty massive buff. Next on the docket for the primary weapons is the Liberator Penetrator, which now has a full auto mode. Additionally, the Dominator has been buffed, as it now has an increased damage from 200 to 300, and it also has an increased stagger. The Diligence Counter Sniper has also had an increase in its armor penetration from light to medium armor. So what was shaping up to be a fan favorite gun, the Slugger, has received some pretty massive nerfs. You can talk to my good friend FL all about this, and he will definitely complain to you about it. But to start this off, they have reduced the stagger on the Slugger, they've reduced the damage from 280 to 250, they've reduced the demolition force, and lastly, they have fixed the armor penetration tag in the menu, and it should show properly now. To go along with this, the Slugger, Liberator Concussive, and the Senator have also had their armor penetration tags fixed in the menus. Additionally, the recoilless rifle has had an increase to the number of rockets that you restore from supply boxes from 2 to 3. The spear has had an increase in the number of missiles you restore from supply boxes from 1 to 2. And the heavy machine gun, which was just released, has had its highest fire rate mode reduced from 1200 RPM to 950 RPM. Additionally, I'll throw the only stratagem balance that they had in as well, which is a nerf to the Patriot exosuit. They have nerfed the rockets to where now they will only penetrate armor on direct hit. So with the major stratagem and weapon balances out of the way, we'll move into the enemies that were balanced in this update. And for the most part, this was all on the Terminid side. So the argument over Terminid versus Automaton will continue to go on. However, seemingly the devs really wanted to make some changes on the Terminid side. And that starts with the Charger's normal melee attack now does less damage against exosuits. Additionally, Bile Spewers and Nursing Spewers do less damage with their puke. Next on the list is the Bile Titan, and they've actually buffed the Bile Titan surprisingly to where it can no longer be stunned. Realistically, this was a secret nerf to the stun grenade that was added in the Cutting Edge Warbond. One of the main uses for the stun grenade was actually to stun the Bile Titans. However, with this new buff to the Bile Titans, the stun grenade is honestly kind of useless to bring into battle. Next on the list is the newly added Shriekers, and they have had a couple of nerfs as well. One of the nerfs is that Shriekers can no longer create bug breaches. I didn't even know that they could do this, but I could see how that could be a pretty major problem. Lastly, Shriekers hitting you while they are dead now does significantly less damage. We now move into the Helldiver balances that were made in the new update, and while there is only one, it is a pretty significant change. So heavy and medium armor now protects you better, and you take about 10% less damage than before while wearing heavy, and 5% less damage while wearing medium armor. Fortified commando and light armors have been unchanged. So this one I do want to dive into a little bit more detail with and kind of give my thoughts on this. These are sometimes where I wish that developers' patch notes would be a little bit more specific, because I don't really know what they mean when they say heavy and medium armor protects you better. I don't know if that's referring to the damage percentage negation that they were talking about in the actual note here, or if there's some other secret untalked about protection that heavy and medium armors are really giving you. What do you guys think? Have you noticed any changes in the heavy and medium armors? Next, we move on to what they have called the fixes. Now, throughout the video, I have been mentioning some of the actual fixes that they have added into the game that they kind of masked as balances to the game, but these are what they have marked as the actual fixes to the game. And they have fixed an issue where save settings for PS5 would be reset when the game is rebooted, causing things such as loadout and hint settings to reset. Additionally, enemies now properly target exosuits. Previously, many of the enemies would effectively ignore the exosuit if a Helldiver who was on foot was available for them to target. Now they will actually target the Helldivers in the exosuits as well. They've fixed the exosuits being able to fire their weapons while opening the minimap. Apparently, there was an actual issue with the Helldiver in the exosuit that would make them take explosion damage multiple times. This made them significantly less effective on automaton planets and made things like automaton rockets way too deadly. Apparently this has now been fixed, however, I still don't know if it's worth it to actually bring the exosuit into automaton planets just because of how big of a target it is and how deadly accurate the automaton rocket devastators and honestly rockets in general are. Apparently there was also an issue where when facing the automatons, the spawns were incorrect. Now, whether this is a fix or a balance that's masked as a fix, I'll leave that up to you to decide. But apparently now after this fix, you should be facing more devastators on automaton planets than other enemy types. So additionally, they've improved the system that prevents hellpod steering close to large or important objects, and they go into some more notes here. Apparently they have solved issues where the effective area around objects was a lot larger than intended, and they've actually reduced the number of objects that prevent hellpod steering. Additionally, they do kind of add a note here of why this system is in place to begin with, and they say that it is intended to prevent some soft locks where players can drop on important interaction points or drop into unintended places. Essentially what they're saying here is this system is in place to stop players from cheesing the game and dropping into areas where you are essentially unhittable or untouchable. They say that they'll continue to monitor the state of the system after the update to see if any additional tweaks are necessary. Additionally, they fixed a case where the ground under some assets could be bombed, causing them to float, and they've made some pretty significant changes to the ballistic shield. Now, this was a stratagem that I've never actually seen used ever, and honestly, when I did see this stratagem, never thought that it would be useful at all. But here are the following changes that they've made to the ballistic shield. So they made it to where the collision mesh has been slightly increased in size for more forgiveness. I believe what they're saying here is that it essentially just has a larger protection area. Additionally, they've changed the shield pose so that less of the Helldiver is exposed, and they have addressed a bug where parts of the Helldiver would become vulnerable while using the shield in first person. And that just about wraps up our overview of the Helldivers 2 patch 1.0.2. With new hazards, increased level cap, balancing changes, and more, this update brings a fresh challenge to the Helldivers universe. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button, and also don't forget to drop a comment below on what your favorite or least favorite aspect of this new patch is. Also, if this video helped you out and you'd like to see more videos like this or leaks, upcoming changes, things like that, I cover all of that on my channel, so feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. Stay vigilant, Helldivers, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. This is Sly Spy Gaming signing out.